Just to make everybody aware that we're recording this session. I don't want to see the transcription in my screen. It's distracting. Just be aware we're recording this session, so if you need to drop early, you'll be able to watch all the good stuff that's being discussed after you left. So welcome all to the Groningen Microsoft Data Platform meetup. When I created this one, I couldn't think of a harder name to pronounce, especially for people outside of this country. And let me quickly talk you through what we're all about. So hopefully Anders can go to the next slide. If you're still hearing me, yay! So this is what we're doing. Together with Eentje Jan, who's a presenter in this session as well, right now mostly focused on letting people in. We decided to start a meetup group about 2.5 years ago because there was nothing in the northern part of the Netherlands. We started out in person only, so meeting up at my company or some other place, talking about everything in the Microsoft Data Platform. At the end of the year, we're doing a lightning talk session where everybody's invited to do a session of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maximum of 20 minutes on a subject on the Microsoft Data Platform. No previous experience is needed. So if you just want to give it a go, whether it's a 5-minute session or an hour session, just let us know and we'll make it happen somehow, some way. We'll help you out gladly with everything that needs to be done. And just try to help you get a feel of everything that has to do with presenting sessions. You can do that in person, you can do it online as well. As I said, this year we're doing a mix between in-person meetups and online ones. Usually the online ones have 10 to 20 people. This one is a massive outlier with over 120 people signing up. I've never seen this many people join the session, and I can still see people coming in. Don't worry, you haven't missed a thing. Now, before we get started on the actual content, because this is not a session about me, I'm not here to take all the time. There's one thing I really want to emphasize, and that's on the next slide and the slide after that. Let's start with a simple one. We have a code of conduct, and the short version is behave like an adult. We're all adults here. We all know how to behave when we're among friends and other people. So the same goes here. If you need a reminder of what we think the basics are, it's on the next slide. Just this list. It's not hard. It really isn't. Yet we still need to reiterate these points. So please, our meetup group is for everyone, no matter your background, the language you speak. If your English isn't that good, it's okay. I mean, it's a hard language. I struggle with it. Most people struggle with it. I've even heard people from England struggling speaking English. Stuff like that. We've all got different viewpoints, different backgrounds. It's not hard to just be understanding of each other. Just be nice, be kind, behave. And with that, I wish you a very pleasant evening with the upcoming session from Julia and Anders, who will introduce themselves. And I think we can generally say they're rock stars in the data community right now.
Okay, thank you. First of all, super cool for us that so many are interested in us having a discussion among peers. I sold this also into Anders as a cozy little event of maybe 20 people, and he just said, yeah, sure, let's do that. We haven't really changed our plan or the content. The plan is still to just talk about our experiences, what we think of the different platforms, maybe ask each other some questions. So that's basically what we're going to do today. So if you go to the next slide. So who am I? My name is Julia. I'm a Databricks MVP. So I'm a minority here compared to the Microsoft ones. I think there are a couple thousand difference or something. I'm a lead consultant and a solutions architect working in EVD together with Anders. My journey started when I started working 6 years ago. I started working on Microsoft on-premises with data warehousing. I love SQL Server. I love integration services, analysis services. That's the tools that really got me interested in the field. I've been really lucky and I've learned everything I know about data warehousing from a guy that has done that for 30 years. But then, of course, things started to change after a couple of years, and everyone started moving to the cloud, especially in Norway. That has been a very quick shift in focus areas for businesses. So then I started working in the Azure stack, did some solutions working in Azure Data Factory. But then I just don't know why, but I myself didn't feel like that was my tool. And then I heard about this thing called Databricks a couple of years ago, and I got interested. And then I started it, and after that, I've been basically focused on that one tool. Because of my background, it's not probably surprising that I often work on migrations. So having the on-premises state of mind. So yeah, and I live in Oslo in Norway.
Yes, and then I guess it's me. My name is Anders Krohn. I have the same title as Julia, lead consultant and solution architect at EVD. My background or journey into data was that I first started with Power BI, and then went into Azure with Azure Data Factory, Azure SQL database, and then now, since Fabric was launched, I've been working with Microsoft Fabric. I live just outside of Oslo, but I work in Oslo. So that's me. What we will be talking about today is we have a couple of points on our agenda. We'll talk a little bit about maturity, comparing maturity. We'll talk a little bit about developer experience, pros and cons about both platform, and what to use when.
Okay, and then I want to start with saying one thing, and that is that I like start off fresh with killing a myth. I think a lot of people working on data platforms has gotten a bit tired of the idea that a data platform is something that will run itself. This is a myth. A data platform in the cloud is not something you develop and then it just works forever. We were closer to that on premise when you had your server in the basement and SS integration services could run the same package for 10 years. But that's not the reality we live in anymore. Things are getting more complex. We have more data sources. We have more use cases. The server is no longer in your basement. So expecting it to just work when you're sharing compute across borders and also you're scaling them up and down all the time, is just not realistic. So let's just say that no matter what platform you use, you will need people that understand it and then can maintain it and fix when something stops running or starts running out of control, for example. So that's just my first point of view. And then we can start by the agenda, which is the next slide.
Yeah.
So now both of us are going to talk a bit about our first experiences in our platforms and what those projects kind of were and what we touched up on in those experiences. So my first experience with Databricks was a couple of years ago. I was actually set as an architect on a migration from Azure Data Factory into Databricks. I had never touched Databricks before. And I got the responsibility of being the architect on that one because I knew the existing platform better than anyone else. And you often say that Databricks is really complex compared to, for example, Azure Data Factory. And yeah, maybe it is more complex. You have to learn more different stuff. You have to set up more of your infrastructure. You have to do your service principal. You have to set up your data lakes. But it's not, I don't think it's really hard, but there are more things you need to know. You can't just focus on your ETLs. You have to like have more other types of experience as well. And I was so lucky or unlucky that the main source of my customer is Dynamics 365 with finance and operational module. I know that everyone that has worked with that source before is like, yikes. So that was a project which became quite complex because finance and operations is a source system with thousands of tables created by Microsoft. So they like adding complexity to a lot of things in the background. And so this basically means that there is a lot of business logic to get these tables to actually give insights in Power BI reports. It's not the type of source where you can plug it into Power BI, connect your tables, you get a perfect star schema, and everything just runs. It's a lot behind there, and you need kind of a full-flexed lakehouse architecture, and your solution has to be able to kind of scale. In addition to this solution had historization on all tables by default, and it also does frequent loads 24 times a day. So it runs the lakehouse 24 times a day for hourly refresh data. So if I want to take away 3 key points of my experience with Databricks on that project is think slow, act fast. You don't just start developing ETLs on the Databricks platform. I'm not going to say to my data engineers, hey, you take HR, you take economics data, and you just do what you do and get the data out in reports. That's gonna be mayhem. Databricks is a very flexible platform. It can do a lot and it's powerful, but that also means that if it's flexible, people can do stuff in many ways. When people can do stuff in many ways, they likely will do them in different ways. And when you have a couple of big data sources, your goal should be to try to do them as equally as possible, because you don't want one data engineer to be your one point of failure in your solution. So please make a good plan. And then when you actually have a good plan, maybe you've developed templates as we did to automate the first parts of the architecture, then developing goes very fast. But you have to have this initial period of time where you really understand what you're trying to do and how you're going to do it. So Databricks has a lot of features. So just try to start with the ones you really need and build from there. Because it's very easy to be overwhelmed of all the different things you can do. So from my aspect, I really knew data warehousing. I know how to develop slowly changing dimensions. And I just tried to figure out how can I build the code for that compared to how I did it in ADF and integration services. And then your kind of your solution will grow from there. But things are happening really fast. Like the list of things that are released every month is insane. So if you don't prioritize time for your team or yourself to stay up to date on what's happening, you're going to be left behind quite quickly, and your solution can become outdated compared to others. And then, of course, is that a big problem in itself? No, if you're happy with your solution, that's fine. But just be aware that a lot of things are happening all the time. So there is likely to be improvements that can help you run your stuff faster, more efficiently, easier user interfaces and stuff like that. So it's just a matter of prioritization. But just at least, that's my top tip. Try to keep a bit overview of what's happening in your platform. Yeah. Anders, what was your first experience?
Yes. my first experience with Fabric was about right after launch. So I started working in VD October 2023. My day 3 on my job there, I got handed the project that I'm currently working in. The project is rebuilding a data warehouse, probably 10-year-old SQL Server data warehouse, SSIS, SSAS, and performance point. If any of you guys who have worked for many years remember that, performance point is a really old reporting solution on SharePoint. So yeah, we had to got to learning by doing with bleeding edge technology, which means we cut ourselves. Many of our initial assumptions and the way things we set up to begin with, we found out was not the optimal solution. So we had to redo some stuff. But it was really fun. None of us really had experience with lakehouses and the medallion architecture. But we decided that was what we wanted to do. So we set up lakehouse architecture with medallion architecture, the full development environments, dev test prod, the whole shebang. I will not go into. I will not show the architecture here, but yeah, we had to learn by doing with technology we didn't know, and something that was really new and at times unstable and in preview. I would say I had the best team, still do, and had a mentor, Katrine Wilhelmsen. Many of you know her. We are now a team of 4 people working on the same project to this day. We've built the data warehouse, and now we are creating a bunch of Power BI reports on top of it, and maintaining, trying to keep the whole thing alive, and getting new sources, new business logic, stuff like that. It's a fairly big. In Norwegian terms, so this is a fairly big company. We have several hundred users using the reports every day, and we're getting data from I think 4 or 5 different systems. So key takeaways: use what you and your customer know. If you have, if you're developing this for a customer and they are basically they have Power BI knowledge. There may be controllers, maybe someone who has some little bit of SQL knowledge. Then that is Fabric would be a say natural choice, and you wouldn't set up lakehouses and notebooks and really a pro code solution. You would try to maybe use data flows and stuff like that. So say adapt to your customer. And one size does not fit all, meaning that there are many ways to set up a Fabric solution with how many workspaces do you want, how many lakehouses, would you use notebooks, warehouse. There are so many ways to do it. So planning ahead is crucial. We have had to redo stuff several times before, both because we didn't know better at the time, and also because things changed. So really trying to, so I will say, agree with what Julia said, that it's really important to plan ahead and think in order to, so you don't have to redo stuff when you have really painted yourself up in the corner and you have a lot of dependencies. So yeah, that's my key takeaway. So now we could talk a little bit about maturity in the different platforms, compare them a little bit.
Yes. So when it comes to maturity, I would say that Databricks is a really mature platform. Databricks was founded in 2013, and the first iteration was launched in 2014, I think. It was actually first released in Azure in 2017. So it's actually even been in the Azure infrastructure system and been an Azure first-party service for, almost 8 years around that now. So, and that kind of shows in the maturity aspect. I think it has a good developer experience. Things that are there are quite reliable. What I will say, they are also one of my favorite things about Databricks. We're going to touch more in detail on that later, is the governance aspect. I think they're very good at governance. You have quite fine-grained access control, but it's still quite easy to set up. And there is this interesting thing that we have discovered in our department is a bit different between the platform. If you go to Databricks documentation, public preview is production ready. That means that public previews basically never change. Maybe they add some stuff, but like the amount of times public previews are very different than GA is basically never, because they should be production ready, and Databricks says that they are. So you can actually use them in production. I would say that there are close to no bugs in downtime. I have experienced a couple of bugs, and that's just because I'm a SQL like super nerd. And those were fixed when I found them. They were fixed like within 3 days. They gave me a fix for that, and that was lazy execution in Spark, basically. So there are close to no bugs in downtime. And also, of course, Databricks runs usually on a cloud. So it runs on AWS or Azure. So if there's downtime, that's usually because there's downtime on your cloud, not necessarily on Databricks itself. But of course, when you run Databricks on Azure, you have SLAs. So the downtime there is not that frequent. If they have SLAs, it means that it's likely not to get any big downtimes. I would say that it's more immature when it comes to reporting. I think the reporting aspect is something that they're improving quite a lot, but it's still not Power BI. Because that has never been their focus. Databricks come from data science. They come from data science and AI. That's what they started with. And then they started with lakehousing in 2019, 2020. That's when they started with actually giving their customers the option to run SQL on Databricks. They didn't understand why, but their customers were like, give us SQL. And then Databricks was like, okay, we'll give you SQL. And when they gave them SQL, it was exponential growth on the Databricks used. So they were just like, this is a major, major change. And after that, they really started focusing on, they pioneered the whole lakehouse concept. That's where it comes from. And they also are the ones they are also the ones that wrote Delta, and then they open sourced it. So it's the same guys. And they wrote Spark and open sourced it. So they have quite maturity on all kind of this, making them play together. But I will say that it goes back to something I've already said, and I'll probably say it again. It is so flexible that it can create chaos. I think you have to be very careful with your team when you're working on Databricks. And there are some key types of people you need. I personally think you actually need an old school data warehousing expert, someone that knows structure, somebody that knows naming, and somebody that knows a bit of discipline of how you work and model data. Because if you don't have that expertise, you're likely to get a bit of chaos. So just make sure that you get at least one of those type of people mixed with kind of the fresher take, which they want to explore and test new stuff. That's great, but you need a mix of those type of personalities to make your platform good. Yeah. So, Anish?
Yeah. So maturity. Fabric in itself is quite young. It's now almost 2 years, but it's built on proven building blocks. Power BI, ADF, and Synapse. It's not the same, but it's they took all they knew about data and put it into Fabric. They have very fast monthly releases and public roadmap. We talked about it a little bit before we started here. Raiten mentioned that there are so many things being released every month, and it's impossible to keep track of everything. A lot of the stuff that we use today in the project is still stuff that was some of the initial things released. So it's really hard to keep up, but we try to keep up, and it's just it gets better every month. You have enterprise governance with Purview. It works really well. I've heard. I've not used Purview myself with Fabric. And it's an evolving developer experience. I will come back to that a little bit later in the presentation, but it's that also gets better every month. Unfortunately, we still experience bugs and downtime. I don't know if you remember, I think last week or the week before, it was like 12 hours downtime in North Europe, which is I had to write to Julia and ask, does it ever happen in Databricks? And she said, do you want the truth? I don't think you do. So it's, but Microsoft customer support is very good. The few times I've created like a critical ticket, they've reached out to me within the hour, and it's usually within a couple of hours. They contact me and they always resolve it. So 10 points for Microsoft support. Next thing we will talk a little bit about is the developer experience. So I've split this up into two parts, Power BI and Fabric. When it comes to developing semantic models and Power BI reports, Power BI Desktop is still a lot richer than the web. You can do a lot of stuff in the web, but it's still, at least my main work is being done in Power BI Desktop. TMDL is fantastic. For you, those of you who don't know what that is, I think it's tabular model definition language. It basically turns your Power BI file into code. So you save it as a Power BI project file, and you can access it, for example, through Visual Studio Code, and you can programmatically or the script changes, and you can create measures. You can do a lot of stuff with your Power BI report and semantic model as code. But it's really easy to break dependencies. Like if you have duplicate logical IDs, sometimes you do changes and then try to sync it back up into Git and open the report, and you get error messages you don't understand. So some things are better done in the Fabric user interface because Microsoft handles a lot of the dependencies and stuff for you. Which brings me to my next point is that Git merges can sting. If you have tried to collaborate with people on the same semantic model and reports through Git, like we do in the project I'm in, we are 4 developers possible at the same time developing on the same semantic model. The semantic model and reports are a lot of files and a lot of lines of code, and it's not always obvious what has been done. You can just say, go into model view, move a table or make a change in the report and update the semantic model because you need to update it. And suddenly you have like 14 changes and you don't know what. So that makes creating pull requests and having someone else review it a nightmare. I would say it's impossible unless you have really good pull request descriptions. It's impossible. So what we do is that we have, instead of approving each other's pull requests for the Power BI and semantic modeling, we have a process that we go through to verify that things work, and we commit often and we always branch out from main. And so just try to minimize the possible damage. So at least for reporting and semantic models, we approve our own pull requests, but we are also responsible for making sure things work as intended before deploying. So for Power BI, report is still manual and requires visual confirmation. We're not able to programmatically check that a visualization still works. So we can't just in the terminal push the main and then it checks and unit tests and everything just goes out automatically. You still have to manually deploy. I think it will get better with when they get deployment pipeline support for the PBIR format, but not yet. For Fabric, Fabric and it's okay for developing notebooks and pipelines. I've seen that there has come a lot of new tools like the Fabric CLI and the Fabric API, stuff like that. So it's definitely improving. I don't know if you guys have tried to use Copilot after it was released to all Fabric capacities. Personally, I find it useless for my kind of work. I've tried to use it. It's really not that good. But I've used Cursor, and in combination with a Fabric MCP, which my colleague August has created, to really help with the development of notebooks and navigating around in Fabric through Cursor. So Fabric plus MCP, that's a lot better than Copilot. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I don't know how to use Copilot, but that's at least my experience. Small thing like in Fabric, if you ask Copilot, can you explain what happens in this notebook? It can't. If you ask in Cursor, it will give you a thorough explanation of everything. It will ask you if you need help to add comments. You can have it help you create a wiki page for it. So Cursor is like really game changer for me at least. Julia?
Yeah, you can probably press one more time and then I get more bullets straight away.
One more, I think.
I had no idea. Try.
I will try. I think it's one more. Yes.
Okay,
that's the last one.
I think it's stop.
Yeah.
Full stop. Okay. So I think the developer experience I really enjoy it in Databricks. I think it's a good developer experience in general for data engineering and data science people, but it's not necessarily been focused that much around the analyst part, which is if you're coming from more a front end and Power BI heavy background and analyst, of course, it's going to be harder to learn Databricks than Fabric. And that's just the way it's built. I think the CI/CD options in Databricks are quite good. You have actually multiple options. You can do a standard a bit like you do in Fabric, which is you're using Git and then you're connecting your Git with your DevOps, and then you can do your deployment and your version control through that. But Databricks has also created something that's called Databricks Asset Bundles. Databricks Asset Bundles a more technical way of doing deployments, but it also handles a lot more. So it actually doesn't only do notebooks and deploys your code, but it also bundles together things like cluster configurations and job descriptions, so you can actually deploy your workflows as well over environments. And also, Databricks Asset Bundles means that you can be more strict. You can actually restrict people from doing changes straight in production. So it's not only that it moves this code, but it could also kind of help you to make sure that people don't just change things straight in prod. And it also, you can do quite a lot of automatic tests, unit tests, and whatever test you want to write. But of course, it's a more demanding thing to learn, but it's a very solid way of doing CI/CD. And then Unity catalog, we're going to dive more into that like soon. But basically, Unity catalog makes the whole of Databricks feel more seamless. It's the kind of the heart and the brain of the platform, and communicates throughout the platform. So kind of it gives information to every part of the platform, and a lot of things can be kind of set from the base. And I would also say that reporting is improving month by month. It's very clear that Databricks has, since I would say the last 6 months, they have really focused on getting that developer experience on the reports better. So that's probably one of the places they're going to focus a lot more the rest of the year as well. And yeah, many ways to develop mayhem. If you don't have rules and think before you do. So yeah. Next one. Okay, pros and cons. Who's first? I don't remember. Me. Okay. Pros. So this is my top pick for good things about Databricks. I'm gonna try to do it a bit quickly. So first of all, Databricks is cloud independent. It runs on AWS, it runs on Google, and it runs on Azure. That means not only for Microsoft companies, it's also for other type of companies. What that basically means is usually that your compute runs on Databricks, but your storage and your data actually still reside on your cloud. So usually your data never leaves Azure, for example. It's still locked in your data lake, and you can govern the accesses in that way. They have a very strong bond with the open source community. And to understand that, you have to understand that there was a group of people that wrote Spark in 2009 or something. I think they wrote Spark, this language that I think a lot of people has gotten to know the last years. And then they just open sourced Spark. And then those guys that wrote Spark, they were like, how can we make a product out of a language? And then we're like, maybe just write a super cool user interface and we just put it on top of Spark. And then we just abstract away Spark in many ways. And then we can actually sell it, because we can have SLA, like we can make it a product that we can actually govern. It's not open source anymore. But that also means that Databricks will be they will always have the latest version of Spark. The same way they basically did with Delta a couple of years later in 2017, was it then? They wrote Delta, and the same people, basically, the same gang, and then they open sourced that as well, which also means that they will also have the latest version of Delta. When a new version of Delta and Spark drops, it's already integrated in Databricks. That also means, even though the format and the language is open source, it still means they are quite influenced by Databricks as a company. They are kind of the one people see to for those things. So they have a bit of control of what's happening. And of course, the lakehouse concept kind of comes from them. So it's kind of their idea, right? The whole concept is their idea, which obviously is a good thing for them. Another thing, this is really nerdy, but I have spent hours reading about every company Databricks has ever bought. And their list is really impressive. I would say that one of Databricks' strongest sides is that they're buying experts, and they're very good at integrating those products and those people into Databricks. So roughly a year after they buy a company, you have something new in Databricks that seems very mature. But they didn't invent the tech, but they bought the people and integrated into their platform. So for example, Lakeflow Connect or Mosaic, that's just companies they bought and integrated into their own platform. And yeah, it's stable, it's mature. What's there usually works. As Johannes said in the chat, was that he also had some issues with SQL running on different clusters, basically what I mentioned before, but that's basically the only thing I've noticed. Yeah, the governance is good, and they're very good at, one thing they're very good at is making AI help me do data engineering. So they're very good at using AI to kind of make Unity catalog better, autocomplete better. So it not only it's a product in itself, but it's basically makes things more efficient overall, which I think is really cool. So yeah.
Yes, and my pros is that it's all in one SaaS delivery. You have everything in one place. You're able to navigate both, say, back end, front end, do all kinds of stuff in one place. You have both low code and pro code options. Customers are able to get very fast from prototype to value. I would say that I would be able to go, say, greenfield project. If it's setting up a sales dashboard from CRM and they implement Fabric, that's, say, an hour, I think. So you're able to really prototype and go really fast, time to value. It's an excellent integration with Power BI. Works really fast. Works really well. You have predictable costs with capacities. You buy capacity, you buy amount of oomph, and you use it for what you need. So it's predictable. It will give you bursting, and then it will throttle you a little bit, but it's predictable cost-wise. I've heard horror stories about Databricks clusters just spending a lot of money. And I will also want to give a shout out to the Microsoft Fabric community over at Reddit. So that's my pros for Fabric.
Yes. So cost. It's not software as a service, it's platform as a service. That means you have to set up more stuff and you probably have to tune it more yourself. Personally, because I didn't have any experience with it before, I think it's not that much infrastructure to set up if you're a data engineer and a back-end nerd. I think it's feasible to learn. Of course, it's more work and you have to maintain it. You have to keep control of your service principals and your lakes and organize it. But I actually think it's a bit fun to actually do a bit of that infrastructure thing. I never thought I would say that, but it's cool to learn new stuff. So yeah. The reporting is not there yet, but actually I had a workshop on data warehousing in Databricks, and the people that attended there actually thought it was nice because it wasn't as complex as Power BI kind of. So there you kind of got the other way around, that, oh shit, the reporting seems a bit easier. So it's not that many features, but it's easier for them to understand. So people that didn't know how to do reports thought it was actually good. So that's kind of where data in the back end, it's the in the front end kind of Databricks seems easier. In general, you need more backend knowledge to succeed with your Databricks platform. At least you need someone on your team that does. As Anders also mentioned, it can be hard to predict cost. And you have to probably, if you're not running on serverless, you have to kind of revise your cluster configs, test different things, and kind of learn how to do the cluster configs. But then again, there is another aspect, and that is that it also means that you can tune everything. So your cost won't double, right? Your cost will increase. It can go up and down, but you also have the power to kind of tune it. But it's more work. We also have now full serverless on Databricks, but of course that's more expensive. That takes away the whole problem of cluster configs, but again, it will cost you more. So it depends what you want to use your money on and time on. And the cons, there is no semantic layer yet, and there's no low code option yet. Let's get back to that on the very last part of the presentation. Cliffhanger.
Yes, and my cons, it's that it still lacks a decent CI/CD option for large organizations. People that have a lot of requirements and require automated testing, stuff like that. It's probably someone has been able to do it. Me myself, looking at what was available, what is available, and reading through others people's experience. My impression is that it still lacks a decent CI/CD option. We do CI/CD version-ish. There are some requirements to call it CI/CD, but we do have Git integration. We do have deployment pipelines. We have stuff like that, even though it's manual. Collaboration on semantic models and reports require iron will and good communication. Like I said on the developer experience slide, it really requires that a good collaboration and an understanding of what you're trying to do. We still find bugs and experience downtime. Bugs in GA stuff. We try not to use as much preview stuff, but yeah, sometimes we wake up in the morning and we see a lot of error reports and all the pipelines and notebooks have failed, and it's a cryptic error message, and then we just rerun it and it works. So yeah, it's still very exciting. So now we talk about our top 3 features of each platform. I've seen in the chat someone might react to my second favorite thing, but actually my top favorite thing in Fabric are shortcuts. You can have shortcuts. You can shortcut easily if you have, like us. We have different lake houses for bronze, silver, and gold. Easy to shortcut things between workspaces. We have our own developer workspaces for working with say backend stuff and front-end stuff. In the project, we have separated in a deployment pipeline for things that work backend, like notebooks, lakehouses, pipeline stuff, and then we have a separate workspaces for reporting and semantic models. That way, we don't have to give end users access to the platform workspaces at all. They can just consume via the reporting workspaces. So shortcuts you can have from different cloud providers, different workspaces. Actually, we ingest all the data through Azure Data Lake Storage, so like we get the data via notebooks. So yeah, shortcuts. I think it's brilliant. Easy. If I need to test a table from in my developer workspace, I can just shortcut it. It's no problem. My second favorite is the seamless integration with Power BI and Fabric. I see Power BI as a part of Fabric. Power BI was standalone for many years. I've initially thought of Fabric as Power BI on steroids. I see it a little bit different now, but I still definitely see it as part of Fabric. Many organizations are very happy with just Power BI. You can do a lot of stuff with it. So definitely also a standalone product, but I personally absolutely see it as a part of Fabric. And it's probably the most mature feature of Fabric. That's my opinion. Finally, I will say I really love the metrics app. Initially, we all started with the trial, which was F64. Felt like unlimited power, but at some point we had to actually buy capacity, and it was really nice to be able to actually monitor what things consumed CUs. Can we optimize it somehow? So I really like it to get an instant overview over the utilization, most expensive items. I have not tried other monitoring systems like monitoring solutions like FUAM. I haven't tried it personally yet, but I really like it. And you can also actually, if you have a spike, drill down to the time of detail, then actually see what exactly what happened and which user caused it. You can see the data set that was used. Unfortunately, you can't really see the report, but here I was able to contact the user and ask them what they did, and we were able to identify that it was a poorly written measure used in a creative way, and that really caused it. Really like the metrics tab. Yeah, a copy of that one, and I have an honorable mention. I really like the One Lake File Explorer. If you have users that need to update stuff or wants to be able to upload things in Excel, maybe that's the way they get the data. You kind of have to extract from a system that you can't really connect to. Super efficient for people to just upload their stuff and change it in the One Lake File Explorer. So that was my top, I guess, 4 favorite things about Fabric. So, Julia.
You cheated. 4.
I did.
Okay,
That's because Fabric is better.
I'll still stick with my 3. They're pretty strong.
Okay.
Yeah, this one, my first one is a no-brainer. There's a life in Databricks before and after Unity Catalog. I think it's a game changer in our space of work. But sometimes it's hard for me to explain Unity Catalog for people that hasn't used it, because it's not really a catalog. A catalog is data about your data. It's basically metadata. But Unity Catalog, of course, contains a lot of metadata. There's a lot of quite detailed information. It also has, I know Anders is very envious of this one, column level lineage on everything up and downstream. And it also shows you history. So you basically have a table Unity Catalog, which reads your transaction logs. So you can see every operation that's been done to your table and with the version number. So it's very easy to time travel back to the correct version. You also give access for your tables, your models, your volumes inside the catalog itself. So you can give permissions and revoke permissions and see who has permissions inside the catalog. It also governs both BI and ML workflows. So it's not only for data engineers, it's also for the data scientists. You can actually steer and configure delta sharing, which is another feature I'm going to talk about a bit later. And in private preview now, you have Unity Catalog metrics. That's basically, think of it as Power BI measures, but you can write them in Unity Catalog and call them from everywhere in Databricks. So in your notebook, in your SQL editor, in your Genie, in your dashboards, you can just use the metric that has been written in Unity Catalog. So that's in private preview, probably dropping soon. So, and then the next one is just because I expected there to be many people that hasn't used Databricks here. So the next slide is actually a video. So it just shows how Unity Catalog looks. So you can just start it. Basically, you go through catalog, you go to the schema, you go to the table, which is user. You can see information about the table. You can add tags or row filters, when it is used. You have automatic suggestion for a description on the table, which is quite good, where you can easily just either translate it or just shorten it, because usually I think the descriptions are a bit long. And they're actually usually quite good. I just use them because they're better than nothing, and then I can fix them later if I feel like it. If I have time, basically, because how often do you have time to fix table descriptions? You get the overview of the column types. You can add comments. You can also add tags. You can also add column masking on different columns. So here if you see here, I actually just pick a SQL function I wrote and saved, and then I use that for masking that column. So when I query data on that column, it's going to be masked according to my SQL function, which I just saved as a query. You get sample data, and you see here that the email is now masked. That probably took like 1 minute to do. You can also get a direct link to your Genie, which we're going to look at later. A lot of information about the table itself. Here you can actually just see who has access to the tables, what type of access they have. You can also see if the accesses are inherited for the schema or the catalog, or if it's just on this object. So you just know if they have the same accesses on all tables under that schema, for example. And here it's the table I talked about, that it basically just reads your Delta transaction log, which is actually quite nice. It makes your life a lot easier because it just gives you everything that's happened to the table, when it happened, what happened. Was it a job that ran it? Was it manual? Which notebook was it that affected it? Which cluster did I use? So you can get quite granular information. And then you have lineage, which you can see in multiple ways. You have lineage on table, notebooks, workflows, pipelines, dashboards, paths, queries, models. And then you can just see everything and how it's connected to that table. And then you have also insights that just gives you information, random information, but it's actually a bit cool. Who is querying this table? How often has it been queried? Frequent dashboards. Like, it's not like super useful, but sometimes it's nice to check, is this table used often or not? Because sometimes you can just say that, oh, that this hasn't been used for months, so maybe we don't need it. And then you have column level lineage in a graph. So you can see how all the tables are connected. So yeah. So that, I think that should be probably it. Yeah. Okay, and then the next one, Delta sharing. So this one, I think Databricks are doing something really cool. They're making it really easy to share data between different Databricks accounts, but also between clouds. And it's based on an open source protocol for secure data sharing. And you can share your data in actually a lot of different types of ways. So you have something that's called federation. That, just think of it as that you can connect to, for example, Snowflake and query it directly just to explore the data. That's what it's meant for. You're just pinpointing some source on some cloud or some system, and you can query their data, and you can federate. I don't have the full overview of what's federated, but it's quite a lot. And then you have marketplace. That's basically the shop for your data. It means that you are a person that delivers a data product, basically. That can be a model, that can be a table. There's different options here. You can either sell it for money, or you can give it away for free. You can also share it publicly, or you can share it privately. So if you share it privately, only the people you have given access to see that product will see it. But if you share it publicly, everyone can see it and then request access or buy it by request. So that's a way to actually monetize on your data and kind of delivering data more professionally. You can also just use kind of sending your data through notebooks and the user interface in the Unity catalog. I'm gonna show that on the next slide after. The last way is the newest way and one of the coolest way. So clean rooms. Bring your own data, but control the request granularity. So I like to think of it as like a clean room. You think of it as a room which is safe. Databricks takes care of the security in that room. And then I create the room and I say to Anders, hey, do you want to join my room? Anders comes into the room, and then we can both bring our own data. So I can just say, get data from Unity catalog, put it in the room. Anders can bring his data, put it in the room, and then he can see my tables and he can see the columns, but he can still not query the actual data. Then I can create, for example, a notebook and basically say, oh, I want to look at all your customers, Anders. But I'm not able to run that notebook before he approves my request. So he has to actually approve that I run this code. And then he can say like, hell no, you're not looking at all my customers. But he can change the code and say, if we aggregate them by region, then you can see the aggregated numbers, send it back, and then I can run that version of the notebook. So it's kind of a very collaborative space. I've tested it a bit. I think it's a really cool feature. Okay, on the next slide, there will be a demo again. This is basically me using the Delta sharing user interface to create a data share. So first, I add a recipient. That has to be, I can name it Nuff Linda because she's my friend and she wanted to do the demo with me. I share her, she has an identifier I add. Now she's a recipient on in my Unity catalog. And then, of course, I have to decide what to share. So then I just hit share. I can say, give the share, of course, a name and a description on what it contains. And then it goes basically to Unity catalog, and you can choose which table under which schema you want to be part of that share. It can also be functions or volumes, so it doesn't have to be tables. You can say that you want to include history or not. So is it a snapshot in time, or does she get the updated data when it changes? You can also add notebooks to that if you want, that she can run, that actually queries the data or does something with the data. I add her as a recipient. And now basically it's shared. And then she will now hop over to her screen. So she goes in her workspace now. She goes to shared with me. She sees SQL conference. She creates a catalog, which she calls a VDSQL conference share. So basically it creates a catalog based on the tables that I have shared with her. And then she can go to Unity catalog. And then she sees that she has Delta shares received. That basically just says that this is a shared thing. It's not your catalog. And then she has a bit more, of course, it's not a full-flexed Unity catalog. It's more basic information about the data that we are looking at. Then she goes to the SQL editor, which is basically management studios for anyone like me that needs SQL in their life. So, which I do. And then she can actually go to that share with the catalog she just created. She can click on this little recipe. She can then run, she can actually run, oh, that's where I heard her, okay. But, and then you see she can actually query the data that is now in my Unity catalog. Of course, it should be mentioned that you can secure it more than what's done here. So on the background, here we have also whitelisted some IPs, for example, because you have to make sure that you have access to look at your storage account. And how much work that is depends a bit, but as long as you've whitelisted IPs, it's really easy actually to share data. And I think it's a game changer in that aspect. So I see a lot of companies, actually, the main reason why they choose Databricks is because they have chosen that as the approved way of sharing data with partners, for example, or customers or stuff like that. Okay, that was that one. And then last one is basically Databricks, SQL, and Genie. So I didn't know how to phrase it, but basically the data warehousing capabilities in Databricks are getting quite good. The 2 years I've been working now in Databricks, or over 2 years I worked with Databricks, they have really added a lot of functionality. Databricks SQL is getting closer and closer to TSQL, which is has been kind of one of my main cons this far is that it doesn't have things like stored procedures or stuff like that. So it's not full-flexed SQL, but it's getting there. And actually, one point of my list is autocomplete. And people think I'm insane. One of my favorite things is autocomplete, because who the hell likes autocomplete? But the newest version of autocomplete in Databricks is really good. Like, it makes my life easier. It can do quite complex joins, and usually it gets them in either 100% correct or 90. So either way, it saves me a lot of time. I have a colleague which was like autocomplete, and now he's worked with me in Databricks for maybe a month, and he's like, I love this autocomplete. So really nerdy, but it's cool. And yeah, I love that we have now the SQL editor, which basically means I have something that makes me feel at home, like Management Studios. It's kind of the same idea. That's how you use it, and it looks quite similar. All the features are obviously not the same, but it makes me, as a data warehousing nerd, feel at home in Databricks. It's not only for data scientists. And I also think that's a very seamless integration between SQL editor and the notebook, so you can parameterize and kind of send parameters back and forth. And the last part is the Genie, which Genie is just a space where you chat to your data and you decide what data those answers are based on. So it's just your assistant where you can ask questions about the data. So it's often used, for example, for businesses to give their analysts or end users, super users, access so they can get kind of more hands-on with their data. I'm going to show a quick demo of that on the next slide. Just start. Yeah, and then you just go to the Genie. You just say new Genie space. I pick something I want from Unity catalog. I can also do Delta shared catalogs. So the data I got from Linda, for example. There I just pick all the tables for SQL conference. And I just create the space. And then it automatically always gives you this explain the dataset thing, which is quite a nice start. You can also give the Genie instructions. So, for example, I can tell the Genie that the users here are technical users, kind of they're developers. That means that you can answer them in a technical way. They will understand things like relationships and keys and stuff like that. That will actually tell the Genie how to behave towards the people that are using this space. You can also give it SQL queries, which it can do, should use for example, specific questions. So it's kind of, if you have measures or calculations, you can feed them into the SQL queries, and it will use those for reference when they're answering questions. Yeah, and when it explained, it also saw all the relationships between the tables. So it could see, it reads Unity catalog, and it reads which column connects to which column in the tables. And then you can just chat with it, basically. It will also then probably try to give you some graphs, not necessarily very good at the first go. Sometimes they're a bit off, but you can chat to it to make them better in general. So the thing about the Genie is that it's starting to get quite seamless with other stuff. So especially with the dashboards, you can ask Genie to, for example, create me a query that gives me a data set that contains these columns. And then Genie actually writes the SQL for it, and then you can just jump back in your dashboard, paste that query, and you will have that data set in your dashboard. So yeah. I think this is a very good, this is a very big step for them to kind of make analysts feel more at home and also bring end users more into the platform. The cool thing, you can create a chat. I haven't done it myself yet. It's on my to-do list. You can do a simple kind of Azure chatbot, and you can connect it with Teams. So you can actually chat with Genie in Teams. So users can just ask Genie questions, and they'll get the answers back in Teams. So that's also cool. I'm going to do a demo of that sometime soon when I have time, which is probably,
Looking forward
I
to
don't know
that.
when. I don't know when. So yeah. Okay,
Next one.
then that
Okay.
was my top 3.
So, top things we envy about each other's platform. So, no surprise, Unity catalog is something that I really wish we had in Fabric. I really envy the rock solid stability of Databricks. Seems like a super solid platform. You could do so much. Yeah, really impressed by it. And also, like you just saw, Genie. I think it feels kind of like what Copilot should be. I think. Yeah, that's my top 3 things I envy about Databricks.
Yes. So I do personally. I also have experience working with Power BI quite a lot, so I do kind of still miss that level of complexity during reports. And I also miss the semantic layer. I think I've always done modeling, so missing that semantic layer is probably the one thing I've been telling Databricks, like, please, can you just fix this, please? I don't necessarily want the low code option for myself, but I think for the platform as a whole, it would kind of really make Databricks more attractive to more people, and more people would be able to use Databricks in a good way. That's also often a requirement where kind of they go for Fabric instead of Databricks, is because they need the low code option, which is totally understandable. And the third one is, I'm a consultant, right? I need to convince people about Databricks as a platform, and the people that make those decisions are usually people that aren't technical. People that are in this call probably understands kind of the qualities of Databricks, but it's not so easy for non-technical people to understand. So it's actually a very hard product to kind of be able to explain in a good way to do it justice. I think Fabric is they're better at like marketing as a tool that people can get the value of, kind of. So maybe a weird thing to be envious about, but still being able to easily explain what you do is actually a very nice thing to have. So yeah, that was my top 3.
Yeah. So, what to use and when?
Yes. Okay. So how is it to work? So in our consultancy, we're not the biggest consultancy. Our department is like around 25 people, where some of us are working in Databricks and some of us working with Fabric. We have one big Teams chat, which means I get the news about Fabric all the time. They hear all my things about Databricks. So our environments are kind of very tied together. So what happens when we try to get customers? Are we secretly trying to fight between two? I always want us to suggest Databricks, and does Anders always want to suggest Fabric? And to be
Definitely
honest,
not.
for me, it's a big relief to have colleagues that are very good at Fabric, because the platforms are quite different. They're good at different things. They make sense for different types of companies. Having colleagues that are very good in Fabric means that it doesn't really matter for my company or my workplace what you choose. To be honest, we earn money anyway, right? We have consultants that can do both. That basically means that I don't have to get a circle to fit in a square. Databricks can probably do the job, but is it the best fit? Do they really need that full flex complexity? Maybe not. And then I can just say like, hey, guys, I don't actually think Databricks is best for you. Maybe you should look at Fabric. I have some colleagues working on that. So at least up until now, I think it's been they're so different that we haven't really had the problem. At least not yet.
No,
What do you think?
absolutely not. And yeah, absolutely not. And if we've had some discussions, then we kind of always agree. I can't really remember we are disagreeing. Like I said, both things can do the job. It's just they are good at different things. So some of the
Also,
questions
I
that
saw
at least,
just one
yeah.
question that's very relevant now. Is there a scenario where you might combine the two? What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. I think I will get more into that later, but I really think that Fabric excels as an analytical platform and Databricks as a data platform. So using Fabric as kind of the, say, gold layer, if you would say that. So if you have really critical infrastructure, you need close to 100% uptime, you have terabyte of data going every day, you really need a rock solid platform. That makes really sense for Databricks, but I think integration with Power BI and the stuff you are able to do in Fabric, it really makes sense. Really makes sense for an analytical platform. So.
And also, I don't think we would do it the other way around, like doing Databricks for your reports and Fabric for your backend. So that's also that's a no. That's a anti-pattern. But I think putting like the other, like the way Anders mentioned, can make sense. It also depends on, are they having premium per capacity anyways, then they're still already using a bit of money. So maybe then that capacity can be used for serving your gold layer to make your solution cheaper in total, basically, since they have locked in Power BI premium equals S64. So, yeah.
So definitely a great question. And yes, there is a definite use case for using them both for different things. So I have, say, some questions that we like to kind of ask ourselves and the customers, and that you might keep in the back of your mind. It's not really an exhaustive list, but kind of ask yourself, what is the business trying to accomplish? Is it like a sales dashboard from CRM or Business Central? That's their use case. Then Databricks probably isn't the right one. So how much data and at what speed and must the solution handle? Like terabyte of data every day, lots of complex stuff. Probably Fabric in its current state. Would not say to handle critical stuff like that. So what skill set do the developer and the customer have? Like if you come from say our consultancy company delivers a lot of reporting on Business Central. Right now, you don't have a native connector to Business Central. You are able to query the API via notebooks. We do that sometimes, but it's really easy to connect with data flows, to just kind of extract the data. Don't try to do merges and changes in the data flow. It will get very expensive, but kind of extract the data and also use maybe data flows between the layers. And that is probably something the customer is able to take over. So if the customer, if the plan is for the customer to take over the solution, probably pro code is not the way to go, because they won't have no clue how to understand it and maintain it. But data flows and Power Query might be something they can understand. Are they already invested in Microsoft, multi-cloud, open source, Spark? That's also a factor. How strict are the governance and compliance requirements? And do they have to is the rapid time to value really important, or custom performance tuning? And who will consume the output, and what budget model fits well, like predictable capacity pricing or pay-as-you-go scale clusters? So when people ask me, what should we do? What should we go for, Databricks or Fabric? It depends. It depends really on what is the business trying to accomplish. And based on that, we are able to have the discussion internally. What are they trying to solve? what's the best way to solve it, and then we can help the customer get the best solution. So I feel we're really fortunate to have both a strong Fabric community in our department and also Databricks, because then we're able to have these discussions. And we have people like Julia and a couple of others who really knows what they're talking about Databricks. And we have people on, say, my side, Fabric side. So we are really able to have an open and honest discussion and really trying to bring the best solution to the customer. So what to use and when? I think we agreed on this slide, Julia. That
yes, I think
yeah.
of course you can say that of course Databricks isn't only for big multiple clouds companies, but that's where they kind of excel. So don't see it as like a really black and white picture. It's more where does the one of them make more sense than the other, rather than it only does this. Because people always get a bit touchy when you say like, oh, it's Fabric's not for big companies. I mean, we're not saying Fabric isn't for big companies, but we're saying Databricks has been proven to do that more, for example. So that's kind of the thing. So yeah, Databricks, big companies, multiple clouds, solid teams of data engineers and data scientists, open source mentality. I'm not saying you're not going to get vendor locked in by Databricks, but you're going to get less vendor locked in by Databricks. You have high focus on governance and or sharing. I think they're very good at the governance aspect. I don't have personal experience with Fabric, but I've heard stories that that's not yet fully there. Complex ETL and data science needs, they are very solid on that. And if you want to be in more control of tuning and optimization possibilities, that basically means a bit more work, but you have more options. You can click more buttons and not double and half it, basically. I also have seen just in the chat, I haven't seen everything. I just tried to see some of it. And there's some things about like AI and real-time intelligence. To be honest, both platforms do real-time capabilities. That's just not something me and Anders has worked very closely with before. I, from my side, has heard a lot of good stories about Databricks in real time. I know they're focusing a lot on it. I know the Fabric is doing the same. Agentic AI. Fabric is probably good at that. I know Databricks is very good at agents. That's been a very big focus over the last months. They've released a bunch of stuff on agents. It's just not the topic we have worked with most ourselves. So I don't have as strong as an opinion on that, just because I just saw some messages on it. So, but I actually think both platforms can do those stuff, and I don't know enough to kind of weight the scale, basically, between them. So yeah.
Yep. So Fabric is for like very Microsoft first companies. Everything you have is in Microsoft. It's great and probably could be bad. It depends on who you talk to. Great for mixed skill citizen developer organizations. That's kind of what I said before. You have people who are very interested in data. Maybe they know Power Query. Maybe know some SQL. It's really good to enable citizen developers with Fabric. So there's less of a threshold to get value, I think. And if the customer has a lot of Power BI and SQL Server skills, if that's the world they come from, I think it's more transferable, applicable to making a Fabric solution. And if you want all-in-one SaaS delivery, you're able to do everything in one platform. It's supposed to work really well with the Purview, and if you have Purview for and you connect Fabric to it, you probably also have it for other parts of your organization, so that fits really well. It's predictable cost. If the customer says they have €1,000 a month for data platform, that's it. Then Fabric might be a good solution. I remember hearing when it was first launched that people said that F2 tuning would be kind of a new sport. I've seen some people on LinkedIn really get a lot of power out of an F2 capacity, and it's a rapid rollout, fast time to value. If you want to get fast value, really, fast value, then that's also a use case for it. So again, both things can be used for most things, but they are better at different stuff. So Julia, predictions for 2025.
Yeah. So what do I think is gonna happen this year? I think it's gonna be harder for me to not argue with Anders over customers. And the reason for that is that I think they are gonna tap into each other's weaknesses more and more, meaning you see Fabric has started with the one lake catalog. We don't really know how it's gonna turn out, but it is kind of suggestions that they're trying to get some of the Unity catalog type functionality. How it's gonna end up, of course, we don't know. Databricks is really focusing on the reporting layer. They have been for a while. That's also one of their biggest weaknesses before. And there has been, I saw a couple of people in the chat have already seen the hints. The Databricks Summit is just around the corner. I'm going to San Francisco in 2 weeks. That is basically Databricks' Ignite. That means that all the major drops are going to happen in Databricks in 2 weeks' time. The top drops that has been teased is the quote, Databricks doesn't do semantic layer. That's hint number 1. That basically means they are gonna tap into semantic layer, and it's probably gonna happen really soon. And I also think that the other hint was that Databricks does not do low code. Pay attention. Or actually, they said Databricks doesn't do no code, not low code. So they actually use the word no code, where the difference is between where the border is between no code and low code, I don't know, but maybe they will tell us. And of course, I'm not saying, I also see on here I just see like every 5th message that the Power BI has a 10-year head start in visuals. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying it's gonna be the same level soon. The same way Databricks had 10 years head start on their platform. So it's kind of, they have had 10-year head start basically in different parts of the now unified data platform. So we don't know how it's gonna paying out or how fast it's gonna go, but the difference is gonna be harder to kind of for us to choose. Our jobs as consultants or people implementing a platform in-house is going to be harder to make sure that you have the best platform for your use case. I think there's a lot of war going on LinkedIn, especially Fabric versus Databricks, Databricks versus Snowflake, Snowflake hating on both of them, things like that. You see crazy comparisons. Oh my God, I tested 10 billion rows and it runs 0.02 seconds on average faster on Snowflake or on Databricks or on Fabric. And then in my head, I'm like, let's be realistic here. Is really that 0.02 seconds in average on SQL query the thing that decides which platform is best for you? Probably not. That's just differences. That's just you are better tuning one platform over the other. I think what we have to keep in mind is, what do you have a platform that does what you need it to do and you're happy with? If you have that, then great. Then that's the best possible outcome. If you're not happy, maybe another platform can be better. So I think the a bit of war going on is a bit like, I don't get the point, to be honest. And also I think there's a way too little focus on what type of people do you have, because the type of competence you have to implement the platform is more important than the platform. All platforms, including Snowflake's, are good platforms. What is the biggest point of failure is usually that you have a platform that doesn't fit with your team. So more focus on what team you have and what you want to accomplish than if your query runs 0.2 seconds faster. That's my general opinion because I know there's a bit of heat everywhere. So for my sake, I'll just like working with Databricks. I think it's a good tool. Happy, all good, no hate.
I completely agree with you, and I also think that they will try to match each other more and more. I also saw the comment that is 10 years ahead. They still have some issues that they have not resolved. So maybe if Databricks actually solves them, like ragged hierarchy, or manage to get a good P&L visualization, then maybe they can compete. I don't know. It's there are still stuff we get annoyed by in Power BI. So Power BI still not, or they still have room for improvement. I think it's the best right now. I haven't tried Looker, I haven't tried Click, I haven't tried the others, but that's at least my general impression. It's the tool I know. But yeah, Databricks might nail what are missing in Fabric. And they may not need everything Power BI can do in Databricks. Databricks might deliver reporting capability that is more than enough for the usage. See, I see that there are one more slide, but I can't really see what it
I think
says.
it's just questions, or we're done, and then
yes,
we see what happens.
Thank you for joining.
Slide. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
I've seen there is a lot of activity on the chat.
Yes, it's really cool. Actually, I've been trying to monitor. You've been in presenting mode, so I've tried to keep a bit of what's going on, but it's actually been a lot of activity, so it was hard. Yeah. Let's see if there is something very pressing.
I do have a question for Anders, if I may.
Yeah. Yep.
So I heard you talking about getting data from Dynamics and especially Business Central. And you're using notebooks to do that. What's your take on using the Fabric link instead?
Me personally haven't gotten data via notebooks from Business Central. We have a couple of consultants who's really good at it and works basically almost with that. They have used data flows and notebooks. The Fabric link with Business Central, is that something that is really new?
Well, I have been working with Dynamics 365 quite a lot in Databricks, so I kind of know a bit about this. Basically, I think it works. They have had a bit of issues that it breaks quite often in some cases. I know that has gotten better, but when it breaks, you have to basically reload all your data, I think, with history and everything. Of course, it's a simplification, so it means that you don't have to really understand the common data model, which I have to, working with Dynamics in Databricks. But it's also quite expensive. It's not the cheapest option because it uses this data over storage, I think, which is actually a ridiculously high price. So the storage actually ends up with the same, or in some cases even more expensive than the compute you would have used to. So that is kind of a lie because the storage becomes very expensive, but it's easier. But it's also, it has more latency than, for example, just exporting via the semantic link directly into a data lake. That's much faster. That you can tune down to like 10 minutes updates, while the Fabric link is slower. So if you have very frequent needs for updated data, then Fabric Link is still behind on the speed. In Databricks, that was it's been a bit of a pain to load Dynamics data efficiently. So you actually had to understand the common data model, the folders, and the metadata files and everything. It's totally doable. I think it works very good where we are in my project now, but it does mean that you have to log every file you read and keep control of what you read, so you don't read the entire thing every time. One thing more is that Databricks has announced that they have started with Lakeflow Connect. That's basically plug-in connector to different systems where you can just read the data out, basically a lot like Shortcuts does in Fabric. They have announced that on the roadmap there is a connector in Lakeflow Connect to Dynamics. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what that is. But that might be a kind of a competition to Fabric Link. So I don't know when it's going to drop, but they have said publicly that it's on the roadmap at least.
Now I think I understood what you meant, Reitze. It's a link to Dataverse and then a shortcut to Dataverse, or get the data from Dataverse. So Dataverse is kind of a mid layer between Business Central and Fabric. Was that what you was talking about?
Now, what I was talking about is the Fabric Link option that you get within Dataverse, or no, not Dataverse, sorry, Dynamics. So you can create a link to Fabric where it will store all the data inside Dynamics and create shortcuts in Fabric where you can read the data from the Dataverse storage. But there will be a Delta Parquet data lake within Dynamics.
Yeah, but okay, so say Dynamics.
But I was just wondering what your take on that was. We don't have to dig in all the fun stuff and outliers here, but
I would say if it works, then great. Last time I checked, we haven't found a really good way, or say we found a good way of getting the data with time I heard. But we would want for say a default connector in Azure Data Factory to just get the data we want. That would be the ideal thing, I think.
Yep.
Or shortcut, of course, directly to Business Central, so we will just get the data right from the source.
Yep.
Yep. I hope that answered your question.
It does.
Yeah. This one is good. When does Microsoft acquire Databricks? Problem solved. Well, I think Microsoft has definitely tried for a while. But I think that the problem, for those that doesn't know as well, Databricks is also a private equity company yet, so it's actually not a public company yet, which is quite interesting. They're valued at like $64 billion, and they're still private, so that's quite impressive. Of course, Microsoft already owns part of Databricks. We just don't know how much. I think the problem for Databricks is kind of the ethics of it all, right? Because they have said that they're cloud independent. They have said that they are open source first. That doesn't really match with getting bought by Microsoft. So, but people say when the offer gets too tempting, but we don't know. They still haven't managed at least, so we'll see. The SAP thing, yeah. So cool. Is there anything more? There's probably things we missed, but you can always, if we missed your questions in the chat because they came a lot, always just write us a message after. Both me and Anders we love to discuss as long as it's a civil discussions.
Yeah, I can be down to argue if that's what you want also.
Yeah, I can, but then my Polish comes out, which isn't pretty. I'm half Polish, so that temperament is there somewhere. I just try to
Yeah, okay.
hold back.
Yeah, it was super meeting you all and presenting here. Please reach out to us on LinkedIn, or I will go through this chat, I think, tomorrow and answer any questions to me that I might be able to answer, at least. Hopefully, it was worthwhile your time. We had a great time, at least. Julia, I think you agree, hopefully.
Yeah, thank you both so much for taking time and presenting this session, and yeah, well, just giving a nice overview of the pros and cons of both tool sets. And yeah, I love this session. I really do. I'm really happy and
Great
honored
to
that
hear.
you were willing to do this, and thank you so much. It's
our pleasure.
It's been a pleasure for us as well, I think. Looking at the chat right now with all the compliments coming in, I'm not the only one.
That's
very, very nice to hear.
Nice. I think people are a bit sometimes scared to touch on the subject. Either you're very very hard on selling one of them or the other, or you are like, no, I don't want to touch this subject. I don't want to say anything about it because someone is going to disagree. So I think just voicing that everyone can have different opinions and standpoints is a good way to start to actually understand how to use them better, both platforms. So yeah. Thank you.
I saw a good remark somewhere. Not best of breed, but best of platform or something along
Best
those
of
lines.
suite, yeah.
Yeah.
We have talked about that a bit, that maybe you can just see Databricks is more of a best of a breed kind of tool, while Fabric is more a best of suite kind of tool. Which is I think is a fair kind of high level opinion. So, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, and I hope to, with all these great discussions in the comments, I hope to see someone reaching out after this as well to discuss. It would be fun.
Yep.
Okay, thank you and
Perfect.
good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all, and hopefully see you next time.